your poker guy, and we are back with another podcast. And I'm super excited because I have with me a master of many things. I've got Arun Sriram, game ambassador of Adda52, ACL champion. He's won a crore. He's done a lot of stuff. He's an entrepreneur. So I'm super excited to just talk to you and just get a lot of perspective about different things. But आज थोड़ा poker पे रखेंगे. But still, very excited. Thank you, Arun, for taking time out, man.
Hi, Pat. Pretty excited to catch up with you. I've obviously
Awesome.
been following all your spot on funny content online. They seem
Thank
to
you.
be like
Thank you.
top content that we can follow. And
Thanks a
just
lot.
excited to be here.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much for taking time out, man. So, how's it going? How's the current after did you get a shock जब अपने ये GST और सब आया था तभी थोड़ा how was that? थोड़ा वो
That,
period?
that's obviously not a welcome move, right? We've all been sort of worried ever since that happened. But it's been sort of, I'll say that a mixed feeling because I was not very, like a lot of other poker players in the country, not happy when that tax move happened. It kind of looked like let's say, a move that could kill the industry per se,
Yeah,
right? As of now, I think a large part of that blow has been handled by, let's say, the players and the sites to a certain extent. The sites
correct.
are doing a decent job, like taking a hit on the GST and them covering up for the ecosystem. It's a bad scene, to be honest. Hopefully, the government kind of reviews it and changes that over a period of time. But things have gotten a little better with the sites putting in the effort. They're kind of
Absolutely.
deploying a lot more towards building series, properties, and players
Yeah.
coming.
And
I'm like,
Adda 52 themselves with this whole 15 crore series that's coming up. So yeah, absolutely. And this year seems like it's on track for bringing in a lot more such events as well. Absolutely. Nice. Okay. Want to talk a little about how did your because I've read a lot saying that entrepreneur also, and then all of this, which is your past, and then you shifted to poker. So just want to understand how did this journey happen? And I know now you trade in crypto as well. You're interested in that as well. So how does this entire thing happen? Like a man of so many tastes. So kaise hua? How did poker happen?
oh, honestly, if I want, before I talk about poker, I just talk about my background. I come from a pretty humble background, I would say. From a very simple, lower middle class family, like most of India, I would say. So the real ticket out of that sort of a lifestyle was education. So in that sense, I would say that my run good started early. I kind of was academically gifted. It's got nothing to do with me. I was just lucky
True.
out of the genetic lottery, I would say. So I could kind of put my head down, and education was the only way out of, let's say, uh, relatively better lifestyle was only through education. Did my engineering, worked immediately for 2 years, and went on to do my MBA and worked the corporate life for about 8 years. Right, I was working on one of the largest corporates in India. So life was pretty much about getting to the next level, like most of things, right? Like dreaming of something that is beyond what you are, let's say, path is
So
set
what you
out. It's
knew,
very
yeah, what
hard.
you knew, what domain where you wanted to keep growing, like the steps and you wanted to keep growing there. Huh?
That
Nothing,
is
not
pretty much
venturing
the
behind. Yeah.
yeah, sorry. That is pretty much the plan or action that was taken. Poker, in that sense, is like out of syllabus, right? It requires more exposure. I had very little exposure throughout my life, other than let's say the standard path. So a lot of this exposure started a little later. So let's say the first big step that I took was in about 2016 when I wanted to leave my corporate life to start a company and work on a startup with a bunch of friends. So that's the first time that I took a leap out of, let's say, the standard thing. And
Right.
that was I would say that gave me the set of experiences that I needed to take a larger risk in, right? So the startup did well at a point. We had a 100 employee setup. It was growing month
Wow.
on month. It was all a good scene till it kind of hit a plateau. And by around 2020 is when I kind of wanted to take a break from all work, which is when I wanted to do something which was a little different, and I wanted to take a break, I would say, from active work. I was just grinding.
At
And
work. Yeah.
till then, poker has not. I was exposed to poker sometime around my work life, where
Was this in your startup
it
work life?
taught me some matchsticks. Okay,
But ये startup work life में था कि corporate में था?
ये corporate life. So
अच्छा.
there was a bunch of friends who taught me with matchsticks, and I think we would play the entire night. We would play for 3 4 hours, and one guy would have won 40 rupees. Some guy would have lost like 30 rupees. That was like the
God.
stakes, and that was the introduction to. The first time I knew about it, and it was fun. We used to play a lot during our corporate life because now we had more, let's say, time and money in our
Post
hands.
work time ज़्यादा था. हाँ, post work you always had time in a corporate life. Yeah.
But that was like, I would say that a very casual recreational experience. And then life took over. So whatever I was telling you was happening, and poker was not really part of it. 2020, when I wanted to take a break, I thought I'll travel the world. Like, to be honest, I was like happily married for some time by 2020, and we both thought we'll travel around. That's when COVID hit, right? We
Right.
2020 was a year most of us can't forget. So just homebound, and I started dusting some of my old hobbies. Poker was obviously one of them, and as luck would have it, I would say that at that point of time, I realized a lot of things had fallen into place. I got deeper into poker and I enjoyed it. And I realized that somewhere along the way, a lot of the skills that I had gained culminated with an advantage in poker. Like, let's say it
Risk
required
taking.
some amount of math, it required good people skills to understand what people want and desire. And so there was a strong work ethic required. And all this, and there was one thing that was missing, which probably my startup experience gave, is I would say that certain risk taking ability
Yeah.
to accept failure. Okay. And that's a very big ingredient in poker, which probably I would have missed before. And that probably came out of my experience in a startup. Because
Absolutely.
I think in a startup, you have
You
those
fail every day.
levels barely and lose every day.
Yeah.
Something
Yes.
feels
Yes.
familiar,
I'm
right?
also coming from a startup which shut down, so I have it was in the edtech space, so I do understand what you're saying exactly. So yeah, I think I saw a lot more. Like I just saw failures, I guess, just a part of startup life. So absolutely, yeah, 100%. What happens when you meet those corporate employees, your friends today? अभी क्या बोलते हैं वो आपके stakes के बारे में?
So yeah, I mean, things have changed drastically. They're pretty much, I mean, obviously a lot of those friends are happy for me because I've seemed to have cut that barrier of recreational play to make this a professional pursuit. And that's always sort of been the dream when I grew up to kind of play something for, let's say, for
A
life.
living?
But,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
and poker is like that perfect solution that hit my life a little later. So still grateful. A lot of the younger players today, I would say that the advantage that you have is time. When you
Time.
start in your 20s, you got like a very long career ahead of you.
Yeah.
And I got started a little late, but the fact that I didn't have this opportunity is something that I'm grateful for because
Yeah. Yeah.
not many people get to do this.
Absolutely. But also you have a lot of like just to counter it, वो भी होता है कि you're coming from a place where you have built your life bankroll because you've done entire gigs before, be it jobs or at your startup, and that gives you also an advantage where you have more time to accept the failure, right? Compared to youngsters when they're there, if they have a couple of years और उसमें अच्छा नहीं गया, you're always doubting yourself, कि is this the right thing? And the work ethic is somewhere hidden. You don't know what is the exact work ethic to put in. So you're coming from that experience. So that also I think really helps.
I think it's a fair point. I think no matter when you start, right, whether you're starting young or starting a little later,
Yeah.
it's challenging when you're having to build your steps to reach a successful place. Like
Sure.
initial failures are very daunting and tough. Like a little older when you start off, you're worried that you're not attaining the potential of what you can earn. Let's say.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
something that you're worrying about. As a youngster, you're worrying about, let's say, am I going in the right path? So these worries are different at different stages.
True.
But eventually, if you are kind of focused on something and you put in the effort and the ecosystem is good enough, you can come out of it in the right manner. Now,
True.
that varies for each person, right? So that's challenging. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Also, I've seen a shift in this manner. People who are into poker and then they create a business around poker or maybe outside poker, that's okay. But then they move into a startup because poker eventually has a certain set of returns that they can give you on a macro level. Like, I mean, okay, I'm capped here. But when you go to your startup or you go to a business, your returns can be uncapped depending on how good the business is. तो वो भी आपका थोड़ा उल्टा है. आप startup के बाद you've come to poker. So is it that your expectation from poker was also about the freedom कि मुझे chill में रहना है और मुझे I don't want to be like too much money oriented? Was that also a part of your decision making?
It is. I think I just enjoyed the game so much.
Okay.
So I mean, in some way, it's hard to put a money value on something where you enter flow state very easy, and it's just very difficult to state that okay, this is the money value that can replace that. It was extremely enjoyable, and with the lifestyle, I like I told you, although
Yeah.
I've kind of done better in life than what we had started, my I lead a very simple life, so it's not like my expenses are too huge or very let's say lavish. So I don't want to do things that I'm gonna hate doing every day at any point of time. I want to be with people who are good, and I want to work on things that I enjoy. And poker seemed to be kind of an activity which was individual and isolating, but it was also something that I could do with a lot of joy. And I felt that's something that I can't put a money value on, and I just enjoyed it. To be honest, if you ask me, economic value of poker versus an alternate career, there are possibilities where I can earn a lot more outside,
Right.
but I'm not sure whether I'll be able to derive the same joy that I get
Joy.
out of poker. And it's so that's a choice that I
So,
have.
so now 4 years into this and being a full-time professional poker player, getting so many achievements, all of this, does that feeling still say the same?
It does. I mean, I would say that every time there's some sort of an obstacle, right, we kind of have to find a way out of it. Like what I've realized is with poker specifically, with the regulatory actions being a little, let's say, clearer and helpful for the ecosystem, the game can just thrive in this country, right?
Yeah.
Like that seems to be a small doubt
Cause of
over the
concern.
past 6
Yeah.
months. Other than that, I think it's been pretty good. And more importantly, it kind of is a game which challenges you throughout your life. So you've got to get better every day, got to get better every year. There's like a improvement possibility, and it's observed, and you feel that as you keep putting in the work. So it's sort of a joyous, virtuous cycle that you can get yourself. Keep
Nice.
on.
So this is about you. How does your family feel about this? Like, how do they feel? Because कुछ भी हो जाए इंडिया में बेटा जॉब तो कर लो या फिर आप बिजनेस ओनर थे आप पोकर में कहाँ घुस रहे हो? Did that happen? Your wife also you said you were married, right? So then
Yeah.
how did she react and what was that thing when instead of traveling the world you said acha let's play poker? So how did that go about?
So, see, with my wife, she's been sort of the rock in this entire journey. The whole reason I've been able to go so wide and far away from the standard path is because she had come into her life and she was very supportive of this. Uh, she, in her own self, is very sporty and athletic, and she's a national level pistol shooter. So she
Oh
has her
wow.
own joyous, let's say, pursuits that she has beyond her work. And I kind of found support from her very quick. It was my parents which were like very challenging. My
Yeah, I can imagine.
in-laws got on board and they said that, oh, this is something new, try it out, and they were
Oh
more
wow.
supportive of it, which is lucky. I would say again, good run, good hit me there, right?
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
my parents, on the other hand, were like absolutely against it initially. They were like, I mean, how is this even acceptable? And what sort of life will it lead you into? And is this, let's say, is this the outcome that they expect after, let's say, playing for X amount of time? They were not happy with a lot of things. But what eventually they saw was the amount of discipline and the effort it took to get better at this game. They could see that I'm studying more than I used to study during my college days. What am I spending so much time on? And then beyond that, they'll also see the general lifestyle around it. I probably had my, I would say, the best, healthiest life around poker than anything else I've done in my life.
Oh
So that
really?
kind of help them also see the light of it. And eventually, when success hits you, right, a lot of these things get accepted. And my
Yeah.
parents have been a lot more open. Today, if you ask my mother, she would proudly tell that my son plays, which was not
Oh
the
really?
case 4 years back, right?
Oh
And she
wow.
would explain, okay, poker is a game that people play and it's played abroad, played across countries, and so on. So it takes time. And the one thing is, I would say that I mean, all parents or anyone who's coming around is coming from a place of concern, right? They're concerned that what you're doing is right or not. Many times they can't see that eventual destination that you can with your eyes. They come around once, let's say, you find something that's good and you enjoy it and that gives you joy. They come around and they start supporting.
Yeah.
That's sort of happened.
Nice, nice. I have a funny story on this. So I made a reel around it that when I got married, my in-laws, I was a startup founder back then, so they were all happy कि अच्छा लड़का तो अच्छा ही है, funding भी है, ये है, वो है, and then cut to startup shuts down and now making reels. So so उनके पास option नहीं था. Then they had to not. They couldn't say anything after that, but I'm not really sure how they feel. But yeah, that's a very interesting story around that. Yeah.
But honestly speaking, I think it's also exposure for them. With you doing this, the creator economy and everything is exposed to them, and they tend to enjoy it after a point of time.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
noticed it with my life also. My parents get to enjoy this now, which was never a part of their life. So it just works out eventually. It has its
Yeah.
way.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so yeah, this is want to know that your Instagram ID, the random perspective, where does that come from? It just shows that you got like open views about many things. So uske baare mein bata. How does this? What does that ID mean?
Well, I mean, I'm I think most things are random in life. We just tend to assign
Too
too
much
much of
importance?
to our individual abilities for a lot of random things that happen. Uh, I mean, the ID came out because it was just available and there were like
Yeah,
1,000 perspectives and opinions. I added my randomness to it. But normally, I'm pretty reticent when it comes to social media. I've been fairly non-existent. I think the Instagram ID got into my life with Adda coming into my life. Okay? So
right, right.
Adda52 and Adda had some sort of a coincidence there. Otherwise, I've had IDs where for 10, 15 years I've just not been
Dormant.
posted. I've
Yeah,
not posted once.
yeah, yeah.
I just like a runner account where I just go and check out. But Instagram, I felt a little comfortable because it's more positive than any other sites. I could like connect with people in a positive manner. So
Yeah.
I've maintained some, let's say, some semblance of presence online in uh, Instagram, and I also get to interact with quite a few poker players who ping me there. So
Yeah, I remember I've seen you like a few of my reels, and that makes me happy. I'm like, Acha, Harsh seeing it means he's there, he's active on the scene. Yeah, perfect.
yeah.
Nice. Awesome, yeah. तो मेरे को ये बताओ आप you said कि because many people struggle in this piece, right? जब चालू करते हैं तो discipline क्या है पता ही नहीं है. Like तब तक एक साल निकल जाता है कि जब तक figure करना था कि poker में discipline था and कि कुछ था. Like I was just playing, मैं मेरा तो वही चालू था. Example. So what I'm saying is, what is your study routine today? And when you started in 2020, how did you already have कि आपका best health का lifestyle था around poker, and how did all these things come into play? That is back then. And today, what is your study routine? And now that you've got all these big scores, still, what goes behind the scenes?
So the first thing is I think poker is sort of a variety of things. Okay, people think it's just to some people it's just a card game. To some people they think it's just it's study. To some people it's just that I just want to go play.
Yeah,
Just want to spend time. So the fact is that it's a variety of things which eventually leads to a greater self-awareness. Poker
right,
is just a way for you to observe, understand, and put yourself in a place which is advantageous for you at the table. That requires you to be aware of yourself, and that requires a variety of things. It's just not one. So I would say that firstly, obviously, there's a technical side to it. The technical side to the game involves a theoretical side, which I think there's been a lot of debate about this. I've been observing a lot of people who say that I study because GTO is a very effective way of playing poker. And there are certain players who believe in the exploitative style of play, and they believe that GTO is just, let's say, meant for the, let's say,
yeah, it's a
nerds.
passive way of, yeah,
The truth is somewhere in the middle. The truth is that
a mix
theory
of
lets
both,
you understand the game better. The exploitative nature of the game lets you apply it at the right place. So I would say that every play that you make, which is exploitatively the best play, will
right?
probably be the most optimal play that you can get to. Let's say, ideally, if you have a great understanding of the entire dynamics,
Some,
which is everything, including whatever. The problem is that you don't need to lock yourself into anything. So
correct.
technically, be open to the theory of it,
But variables को साथ में है.
accept it. That's a reality. Try to find those advantageous positions where you can let go of theory and be extra exploitative. But theory does get you way ahead than not doing it. Okay? So that's one step. So in that sense, my routine revolves around learning a bit of theory, analyzing what I'm doing to see where I stand, and more importantly, understanding where opponents stand. You can study as much as you want. Game theory optimal is effectively a computer playing as a computer with playing limits. So where they stand gives you a lot more insights into what you should do
Right.
than things. So
How
that's
do you
something.
deviate from that? Yeah.
So that's the first thing, which involves some theory plus a lot of, let's say, analysis of.
And this happens every day?
Not really. I think currently it's reduced a lot, but I would say that there has been a year where I would have put myself on the top of the study charts in the country. Okay, so I
Oh,
would have
really?
done this every day. So, uh,
What
but
year
right now
would
I'm
that
not.
be? What year
I'm
would
not.
that
So I'd
be?
say that 2022 was a year where I would have spent more time than I think most players in the country with
Nice.
study and poker. I remember like I was just like completely into it, wanted to get deep into it. So uh, that's something that you will need at some point in time. You'll have to go so deep in that you're just gaining advantages of that, and it compounds over time. Okay? Then the other side of it is let's say the physical side. People just completely ignore it while the study part of it exists. The physical side of it is actually being relatively. Yeah. I've always maintained that throughout my life. I've wanted to play some sport or the other all the time. Of late, it's squash. It used to be something else before. So, kind of keeps you physically in a place where the long grinds doesn't affect you. The physical side does not tire you to take bad decisions. That's been an advantage. The third critical side would be the mental side, which is what is
Mind.
the most
Yeah.
difficult task. Because, like you said, for a year, if you're learning a game where the returns come in much later,
Yeah.
it's not an easy place to be. And a lot of players often fail at it because they're not mentally capable of handling the timeline that it takes for it to get better. This is a long-term project. Poker
Correct.
is the best example of a long-term project that you can see. If you're putting in the work, it's another difference. So if you're putting in the work, you will see the difference after a year, after 2 years, after 3 years, and it just keeps compounding. Whereas people tend to want the results in short term,
Immediately. Yeah.
but they are not interested in putting in the effort over the long term. So it's a very tricky place, right? So what you want to do is long term. Your outcomes are long term, but you start seeing it at a short term, it never really works.
Yeah.
So the mental side is something that has to be worked on, and people don't understand the advantage of micro actions. What I mean by micro actions is doing that simple action every day keeps adding
1%
up.
every day. Yeah.
So these are like ways in which you can kind of gently improve your self awareness and be open about having a group of guys or a group of friends with whom you can openly share what you're thinking about certain sports, right? This is very critical in poker. I would say that I've been pretty shameless that way in accepting where my failures are and be open about taking criticism. I've made atrocious plays throughout the learning cycle, right? I've done plays which just doesn't make sense if I think about it now. But when I was doing it, it's time
Yeah.
to say,
Correct.
okay,
Correct. Correct. But you're open to understanding कि क्या हो रहा है, and then you're trying to improve it day by day.
open yourself up to positive criticism and you find a bunch of like-minded folks, you tend to get to a different stage better. And this all helps overall. And this is not a, I would not say it's a routine based, it's a lifestyle based approach. Okay? You do all these things, you're bound to get better in poker.
Yeah.
And you will always come out of it better than where you started after a year. And in some time, you'll realize you're way ahead of where you would have started long ago.
Yeah.
And that's been sort of working for me. And
But for someone coming into from a different world in 2020, you had this awareness even then,
I mean,
or
I
you
kind
kept
of
learning on the go?
So I kept talking to people, I kept observing. So one thing that I've learned is, I mean, over the time is people are willing to help.
Yeah.
It's just that they're asked were less. So I used to get help from a lot of. So I'm hardly self-made, I would say. I'm largely a function of the ecosystem and
And
people who
super
help.
humble.
I just got a bunch of people who told me try this. I just put in the effort behind what they directed, and it helped. Okay, so that's been what's worked for me, and I think it does work for most people.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Want to ask, you give me the vibe that you don't seem like आपको like you like behind the scenes जो काम करना है and just let it happen by itself. You don't want to be in the limelight like your social media. And yeah, so how does when you become an ambassador or something like that, how do you like doing all these podcasts and the videos and all these shoots? How does that work for Arun? Do you like it or do you not like it?
So see, that's sort of bang on. Okay, I mean, I kind of prefer isolation a lot.
Yeah.
Like I told you in that 2022 year, I think I hadn't met anyone other than my wife for about a period of 2 3 months. I just like doing what I was doing. So that was a life at that point of time where I was just like focused on this. But what has happened is I kind of also train myself to do things beyond my comfort zone. So Adda's brand ambassador program, then game ambassador changed into, let's say, the Adda Pro and game ambassador program right now, has been like a welcome experience for me to expand my own, let's say, bandwidth.
Yeah.
I do like my monkish isolation. Don't deny it.
So you like your what?
I like my isolation to
Ha, ha,
like a
ha.
monk. I would just prefer like
A
being
monk
alone.
isolation. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just feel calm and at peace with myself. I don't get disturbed or perturbed by it. But with Adda52, I've been able to kind of interact with a lot more players in the ecosystem. That's given me a chance to probably, let's say, promote the game better and enjoy meeting people who have been very interesting and kind. I would say that in that sense, poker industry is unique. You do find a very small percentage of people that you do want to hang out, right? A large percentage of people are people that you can just have a conversation. I'm comfortable talking to people. It's just that I'm not a very
Yeah.
in terms of social media or like media
Yeah, I know
presence.
that. Right. Right.
So I do like hanging out with the guys. I do like meeting up. So I have an open line with most poker players. So if there's any issue, they do reach out to me at any point of time. And what I've been doing with Adda has also been very back end, where I work a lot with them in terms of the feedback, the ecosystem, the software,
The
the kind
product.
of player experience that people are going through, which has been something that we've been trying to improve regularly. So it kind of works for me. But if you ask me whether I'm at peace with myself, I am. I'm enjoying it at this point of time where I can get to interact with people. And it's also, I mean, people like you, yeah, it's so comfortable talking to you. So it's not really a big deal.
Thank you, man.
Right?
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
It's, it's a fact that that's what makes it a little easier. Yeah,
Got it.
and journey though.
Nice. Okay. So abhi, yeah. So again, it's not your priority. Jo mera kaam hai, like which I like want to be on the video. So this is not your core work, but getting to this, which was the game ambassador via ACL 2021. 2020 में आपने चालू किया and 2021 you are actually straight away going and winning the ACL. How was that feeling? How did it happen? Were you expecting, not expecting? And then your reaction to game ambassador at Adda52. How was that?
So, I mean, to be very honest, right, when ACL happened, I that year was like a complete grind year. I was just like probably building blocks of how I wanted to be in poker. So
Yeah,
I did well in Adda. I do remember that, and but the ACL program was not very clear at that point. And that was the first year that it happened,
correct,
and I was called to Goa to play the ACL SNG. I really
correct.
came to Goa to just play another tournament. And when I reached there, I just realized that it's much bigger than what it was. There was so much of fanfare. There was like the cameras and it was a
Yeah.
live streamed FT. The final table had like so much of attention. So it was an event bigger than what I expected it. And some very good players were there. Some of the top pros at that time, they're in the table. And to me, winning that, I would say that it's just run good. Okay? I ran good that day. It's just, I would say, call it stroke of luck, any other
Yeah.
probability of a one outer hitting. That's what happened that day. And it just was an exciting and an extremely interesting phase of it. It was just suddenly uh, from a year of entering a sport and
Yeah.
presenting a brand was like a drastic change. But that's what Adda52's ACL program does. It just gives players who done well, even though you're like new to the ecosystem, a chance at, let's say, being part of the larger story.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's been great that way. And I still do remember how big that event was and how the, let's say, the whole setup was, because that was the
The
first.
glory and the hugeness of that entire situation. Yeah, I can imagine
Yeah,
that. Uska kitna wo tha.
it
Yeah.
was big. And if you ask me, I mean, it's been a great experience from then on. Like, I think I've had the chance to be working behind the scenes with the site, and that sort of opened me up to the lot of challenges that they could to kind of make the game available for
Yeah.
players. At the same time, I also come from a very player angle, right? I understand the player experience and how it affects us when we are going through the experience. So in a way, I've been able to bridge as much as I can in terms of communication, pushing for things that can happen, and hopefully I do help out the people who reach out to me. So,
Nice. How is it being the ambassador? What time pe glory was the biggest thing? कि यार, like I'm a year into this and I'm already game ambassador at a site and I'm like, was that feeling there or was it just like again by your nature just accepting it and being normal about it?
I mean, I was pretty excited. I'd like to say that that was like a big win at that point. I mean, probably the biggest at that point of time in my
Also
career.
वो था क्या credibility to show everyone कि नहीं देखो मतलब I've managed to, was that a piece which you
It was.
did
It was
consider?
sort of a stamp of approval that the path was right. Right. I mean,
Yeah.
no matter how much we say, passion gets fueled by small wins.
Yeah.
It is true that you want those small wins to keep letting you go in the same direction. And in that
Correct.
sense, this was my first big step win at that point of time. And it gave credibility to the whole action that I was taking, right? Constantly preparing and so on and so forth. So it was all making sense that, yeah, it led to that. Yeah. And in that sense, yeah, it was very important and sort of launched me into the poker world, I would say. Yeah, grateful for that.
Nice. And how, like now the video shoots and all, is that fun now? Now you're okay with it? Are you like, have you adapted to it now since then? You
I'm
getting
a
used?
lot more comfortable with it. I
Yeah.
would say that initially I used to fumble. I'm a lot more comfortable doing all that right now. And that's in the Adda people have also been good with me. They kind of put me in safe spaces with good people. And in that sense, it's been easier for me to handle everything.
Got it. Nice. Okay. Big series coming in. Adda52 Game Ambassador, and there's a big series coming in. It's after a while on Adda52. It's the AOPS, 15 crores guaranteed. in these times. What do you make of it? What do you make of this entire series starting on 27th Jan?
So
And
it's a
what
sort
has
of
your role been? And also, what's your role been now that you say that you work behind the scene? So, what do you make of the series and आपका क्या ये रहा है उस पे?
So it's sort of a long-awaited series. Okay, so
Right.
Adda with Delton has taken over the mantle of the largest player in live tournaments. We all know this, that
Correct.
they conduct the biggest events in the country, and they sort of the monopoly in the sense that they are the only people conducting events for all the players in the country at this point of time, right? So it's always been that they are focused on live as events and series as opposed to, let's say, conducting online series. So this has been under discussion for a long time. Quite a few people have spoken to me about how Adda should do their online series and go back to the times when they were building those properties online. We've had a lot of discussion, and I think I'm very happy that this long-awaited series is going to come to fruition right now. So they've worked. I think the entire team has worked on putting up quite a few events across states, and with the current, let's say, GST scenario, the series would be like a big boost to a large bunch of population who can play a variety of tournaments during this time. And to be let's say, if you ask me, I think the entire series has more than 100 events
Yes.
with let's
110
say
events.
tiered structure of buy-ins, letting all players play from the
Correct.
stake grinders to the mid-stake grinders to the high stakes. So it's going to be an exciting.
And did you have like did you like behind the scenes you worked on all of this, like be it like schedules or like, no, not the schedules, I mean, but did you like create on the
I
idea?
can't take credit for any of this. It's the entire team that did it. I was just involved. I was pushing for the series for sure. So
Yeah.
from a player's perspective, it's very important that we have a series in it, and that I've been pushing. But the entire work has been by the team. So
Awesome.
They've come up with everything, and I'm just getting the benefits of explaining them to you.
Okay. What about leaderboards? Like, there's a 35 lakh leaderboard. Does someone like you target leaderboards? Do you have it in your mindset, or do you ever plan for leaderboards, and how do you approach leaderboards?
So I'll tell you two things. One is how the leaderboard approach works and what I do with it. Okay? So
Yeah.
the leaderboard approach is they're very different approaches to leaderboards. Okay, so one is it's a very long grind. You should prepare yourself, and it's a volume game. So people who play for the leaderboards tend to kind of work on adding more, let's say, caches, making sure that they min cash a lot and they get the points in every tournament, and they also kind of cumulatively add up to the points to be leading it. And it's an everyday grind. You have to like measure yourself on a daily basis and train yourself for marathon grinds. I'm not sure whether I'm not really a leaderboard grinder person. I've like barely grinded leaderboards. Although I come from a very different style of play, which just lets me play the big events very strongly. So I won, let's say, won parts of, let's say, leaderboard money many times. But that's not because I've grinded leaderboard. It's just that I try to kind of go for the wins in many
आप
tournaments.
बड़े इवेंट्स जीत जाते हो सीधा सुपर हाई रोलर सब जीत जाना तो काम हो जाएगा ऐसे ही.
That's not what I meant. Okay, sounded okay. Okay. I want to say that it was actually that I kind of play the larger events to kind of get those points and then see how it goes in the last few days. So those days maybe I would try to do the leaderboard schedule, but otherwise I'm probably not built for it. It requires a different sort of discipline, which probably I'm not set out for.
Got it. Okay, if Arun was now a person who plays less than 2000 buy-ins, because Adda52 pe in the AOPS there's a separate leaderboard for less than 2000, but I'm not targeting leaderboards. How would you, because समझ रहा है कि जो लोग less than 2000 buy-in खेलते हैं, how would you approach, if you were that person, how would you approach the AOPS? Like, what different would you do, and like, what would your strategy be?
So if you're playing, let's say, 1000 buy-in events, you mean that you have a, let's say, like a banker. That's a first point, right? So
correct.
There are about 40 plus events which fit into that buy-in. Okay, so it's important that you, and MTT poker is all about volume. And it's a smarter choice to play within the buy-ins that you want to, but play all the events that can give you the scope, or let's say spread your net of it. Okay, and the other thing is you should try and sati into some of these big events, because the expected outcomes are very big. So the main event, which can end up being a very big part of your bank, to go deep. And I would say that the 1000 buy-in player can skip the HRs and SHRs, but they should try and crack the main event and try to fire through the settles. Should try to crack the mini main satis. There's also a 550 rupee buy-in.
25 lakh.
25 lakh. So there are quite a few good tournaments. Apart from this, Sati strategy should be there, where you kind of play into some of these bigger tournaments. This is just short taking, right? Eventually. So you need to understand that there's only a certain part of bankroll which can be part of this short taking. So take those shots within those bankroll limits and play majority of those buy-in events within 1,000, which anyways 40 plus tournaments, which is a
And
good enough.
usme bullets and all, how do you plan? Like, do you keep like a couple of bullets, 3 bullets is something which you would recommend someone?
I kind of am guilty of not really having great bullet control. Okay, so I recommend it, but it's not something that I myself will practice. It's about the expected value of what you feel over a tournament that
Sure.
you're and what state of mind you are at while playing. I've
Yeah.
skipped tournaments where there was rebuy available at 50, where on a particular day I feel I'm not playing well.
You're
So I
not,
want
yeah, I know what you're saying.
to,
Yeah.
other days I'm firing till 10 big blinds. So I'm not great at giving advice when I'm not practicing something. So I'm just bad at bullet control. But I would suggest that, I mean, keeping 2 to 3 bullets per flight is always something that's normal, and it's MTT
Got it.
poker. So those 3 bullets will fly out very quickly.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. And just because you mentioned Satis, so till the 4th of Feb, daily Satis are on for the main event. So that is something which can be looked into for sure. Okay. Events which Arun is looking most forward to.
Oh, the 11K main event. Uh,
11K main
got
event.
the 3 crore guarantee, and I'm hoping to kind of back quickly. It's got quite a few day one. And there's a 5,500 mini main. That's another interesting event. And
1.5 crores. Yes.
yes, and the 1.1 lakh SHR is something that I would be very keen on playing. So the super high roller, 11K main, and 5.5K mini main will be my top events. And there are 2 other fun events that I would like to hit at, which is there's an HR at 30K, and there's another bounty championship.
Yeah. That's something that I'm excited about. The Bounty Championship. 5,500 with the 30 lakhs, I guess. Yeah.
Bounties are always fun, so it kind of
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
adds to the
Exactly.
whole excitement of
Yeah.
randomness and just
Yes.
joy.
Yes. Nice, nice. Okay, these are the 5 events which Arun's looking at. Okay, awesome. What's your take on the hybrid feature? Because I remember you play a lot offline as well. I mean, I don't know, but I've seen you in Vietnam as well. This year you were gone for that, and so this, like you said, AOPS ka integration with Adda being and having a top thing offline as well, monopoly there. So, what do you think this hybrid feature is? How do you feel about that?
I think, see, I think the whole live poker experience, right, for players who play online is super valuable. Like, and it sometimes rewards you in ways that you can't even imagine. Like my ACL, okay, was purely an online grinder who came to that live event. Uh, that ship is brilliant. So the fact that it's getting arranged in Goa and the FT happens there on board the ship is a super exciting experience for a lot of new players. So it just
Nice.
is in general great for the sport. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's anyways like a fully funded trip by Adda where they're taking them and they're let them enjoy the experience. It's something that I think will be great. I hope I hit 1 or 2 FTs where I can be there in Goa. Okay. But that said, it's super exciting for a player or a lot of the new players who are coming in to just experience live poker along with their online grinds.
Yeah.
Whole mobile phone experience is magnified to multitudes of power when
100x.
you
Yeah.
play.
100%. Yes. Yes.
It's super
ये
exciting.
ये आपने जो ऐसे 1 और 2 FTs बोल दिया, 4 FTs है जिसपे आप जा सकते हो, उसमें अगर आप 2 FTs करोगे तो हम लो कॉन्फिडेंस लोग बेचारे बोलते हैं कि भाई बस एक FT देखने मिल जाए. So that's the thing. Nice, man. Okay, before I end, because we've got you and I'm not sure once एक और podcast कब करने मिलेगा. I want to get some tips for myself and for everyone who's going to be watching who's going to be playing the AOPS from 27 Jan. 1 टिप नहीं, 5 टिप्स दे दो, 3 टिप्स, 5 टिप्स, whatever you feel. जो आप एक MTT ग्राइंडर को देना चाहो, like very quickly, like what should the focus be? कि 9 दिन में क्या हो सकता है अब?
So
हाँ,
I think I would say preparation, but within 9 days, what can you prepare for? The one
correct.
preparation that you can do is at least on the day of the game, be well prepared. Make sure that you're like avoiding all distractions and you've done simple things like your deposits are done. You're ready with your plan for the day and so on and so forth. So that on in the middle of the game, you're not running out of balance and you're depositing and stuff. So preparation is a part. Within the 9 days, you can get yourself mentally prepared and be prepared for the grind. The other big point that I told you is actually an extended point is one of the biggest edge today in poker and life in general is avoiding distractions. It's just a supreme EV differentiator for people who can focus and people who don't focus. There's so much which just distracts us, right? So many people wonder how, let's say, some of these top performers do. It's just because they just avoid distractions, and that leads me to my third point, which is let's say observe and be attentive on the table. A player who's super observant and who's so clued on to the game will probably be much better than a guy who spends so much time studying and comes to the table completely distracted, not bothered, not looking at things. So all your preparation and all avoiding the distractions, all that, if you, let's say, does none of that is as important as, let's say, making sure that you're completely observant and seeing what the other people are doing. Why are they doing what they're doing? And that's just a significant edge that I think not today, 10 years later also will be an edge. Because that's just how humanity moves, right? We just don't focus on it. Then I think one thing that you'll have to remember is be kind to yourself, because you often tend to kind of get very disturbed by outcomes, right? Focus on decision making and not on the outcome, because just get so tilted and get so mentally deranged over a time. I think it's important that you focus on the decisions and not on the outcome. Plus, if your decision is bad, be kind to yourself. You will learn. Just observe that, yeah, you did this, go on to make the correction over a period of time, and then you'll realize that you're improving. And finally, it's a game that we all enjoy. It's still something that you'll have to do for fun. Remember that, don't lose focus on that, because you're doing this to enjoy, and do that, and it'll be a fun experience. Okay? And
awesome. Yeah, please. I have one more.
Hopefully, I get to see, let's say, you in the FT, and I'm there too, wanting to be there in 2, but at least 8 to karna padega so that we catch up live.
Done for sure, absolutely, man. Arun, thank you so much. I think इसको अपन और extend कर सकते थे unlimited. So it's thank you so much for taking time out. These tips it's going to be super helpful for everybody. Thank you, man, and hopefully yes, we'll meet on the ship. Thank you.